And we are back. Summer is just around the corner, can't you wait? And it is that time of year when homeowners are actually across the country starting to plan, prep, and plant in the yard. But with drought conditions returning in many parts of the country, it can be difficult to create lush outdoor spaces while being mindful of the environment and water conservation efforts. And joining us now, giving us some tips to help our experts from Scotts Miracle-Gro, Amy Enfield and Matthew Koch. And thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy, I'll start with you. Here in New York, I live upstate a little bit, and to have the opportunity to have warm weather is great. I'm excited. I'm all for it. But for many people, it really is a huge concern when it comes to drought, and a lot of people are being affected by it. Talk to us really about how a person can really break down and get ready to deal with the drought conditions, because I love it. The sun comes and the sun stays, but for somebody else who's got that lawn and garden outside, they need the water.
Well, I'll give you some tips about the garden, and you can be really successful with a garden out in New York, even during drought periods. I lived out there for 4 years. I fought it. And the first is to start with really good soil. And with good soil, most of the area is going to have kind of sandy soil, and the water drains really quickly, so you get no benefit from what you do apply. So if you add organic matter like garden soil or Miracle-Gro garden soil into your garden beds before you plant, it's going to help the soil retain that water, and it's going to add nutrition to the plants, and so they're going to be happier and healthier, and you're not going to have to water quite as frequently. And then once your beds are planted, make sure that you mulch. Most people mulch because it makes everything look nice, aesthetically pleasing. Our landscape beds look pretty, but more importantly, that mulch is going to keep water in the soil longer, so you don't have to water as frequently. And if you do find yourself having to water, make sure that you're doing it properly. Direct that water to the base of the plants near the roots. And the benefit of that is then it's just not going to evaporate into the air. That water's actually going to go into the soil. I actually like to put soaker hoses in my garden bed and then put the mulch on top of it, because it's a great way to keep the water right where it's needed.
Yeah. Matthew, a little bit more about conserving water. What are some of the things that we can do to better conserve water?
Yeah, so for your lawn, I think there are 3 easy tips that any homeowner can follow. The first is to feed your lawn. There's no doubt that feeding your lawn makes the plants healthy and drives those roots deep, so that way the plants can mine for deep water and nutrients. And another great tip is to mow your lawn higher. I know some of us like to mow our lawns low and may cringe at the thought of raising your mower deck, but this is the time to do that, is to raise the mower deck up, because what you do to the top of the plants, you do to the bottom. So if you're mowing low, you'll have shallow roots. So by raising your mowing height, you have deeper roots. The final tip is to use what Mother Nature gives you efficiently. Nothing makes me cringe more than when I see irrigation running when it's raining. So when it's raining, make sure you're letting Mother Nature do its thing and only irrigating when it's necessary. Another great benefit of feeding your lawn is also when the drought conditions alleviate, your lawn will rebound.
We talk about a living outdoor space, and so when I have a living outdoor space, how do I make that more effective at the same time while I am doing this thing about conserving water?
So you can incorporate things like drought-tolerant plants, but I always like to caution adding drought-tolerant plants, because until they are established in the landscape and have that root system established, they're going to need more frequent watering. But the benefit is, once that root system's established, you can pretty much rely on Mother Nature and still have a beautiful garden. I will just caution, if you do want to have a vegetable garden, that's going to probably be your biggest water suck during the season, because if you want good fruit, the minute you start seeing flowers on those plants or the beginning of like tomatoes and peppers forming, you got to make sure that you keep that soil consistently moist, or you're going to lose your fruit. Otherwise, you rely on Mother Nature and let those plants tell you when it's time to water.
Yeah, I see Matthew shaking his head. Talk to me about those big mistakes that people are making during this time of year. What are some of those mistakes?
Well, I think a big mistake that people tend to make, especially with their lawns, is planting the wrong species for their area. There are definitely pluses and minuses to grass species, and grasses that are more adapted to certain regions of the United States. So in your area, like New York, Kentucky bluegrass is a great option. That is tried and true. It will recover well from droughty conditions and also look great throughout the year.
Any other tips you want to give us for New York right here in the borough of the Bronx? We're excited because, it's been a long time coming for this warm weather, and we're glad that it's here, but at the same time, we also understand for those of us who've got lawns and gardens and stuff like that, it can also go wrong too.
So 2 additional watering tips. One is when you water deeply. You want to make sure, as Matt talked about earlier, you mow high because it gives deeper roots. If you water deep, it's going to help the roots dig deeper into the soil. So less frequent deep watering is better than frequent shallow watering. And then water in the morning before 10 a.m. or in the early evening between 4 and 6, and really avoid that heat of the day where most of the water just evaporates rapidly.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for the lawn?
No. For the lawn, I think actually your recommendation about watering early in the morning and early in the morning is a great one. One thing you don't want to do is water in the middle of the day, like you said, evaporation, but also it'll promote disease. So keeping your lawn healthy is a great way to deal with these droughty conditions.
You know, I'm sitting there. I'm looking on a personal note. I'm looking right behind you, and I see Scotts Miracle-Gro. I see the potting behind you, and I want you to know my mother's deceased about 10 years, but every year she would have that big bag out, and she would be doing her thing around this time of year. So it kind of just brings it back home to me. But give us some tips for somebody who's out there, and they want to get started. What should they do, and what should they avoid before we go?
Start simple. Don't go all in. Start what you think you can maintain and probably half it. So if you think you have enough time to do a full landscape, I'm going to say do half of that, because it does take more work than you sometimes think it does. Start with a couple container plants. You can keep the couple container plants alive, then branch out and do more. Start simple and build up as you gain knowledge and become more confident in your abilities.
But Amy, I had this big vision. I knew I could do. But I got to start small. Okay, I got you. Well, Amy, Matthew, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty, Amy, Enfield, Matthew Koch, who are with Scotts Miracle-Gro. Thank you so much for being with us. Listen, if you want more information, visit the website, scottsmiraclegro.com. Follow the advice. Start small. Don't go big. Wait until you get it under control, and then you can branch out and do